everyone, welcome back to Show Me How to Win. We're visiting PAX East 2020 and we're visiting Jordan Draper from Tokyo Tsukiji Games. Jordan has made a whole bunch of games with the Tokyo theme. They're a small box but with a lot of game in it. The one that I play is Tokyo Metro and we have an interview on that. This one we're going to check out Tokyo Tsukiji Market. It's basically like the fish market in Tokyo. And this one is actually quite different from the one that I play. The one that I play, Tokyo Metro series, is an economic game, but this one has like a lot of bidding components to it, some player-driven economics. You're gonna tell me all about it. So tell me about Tsukiji Market.
Yeah, if anything, this is more economic than Tokyo Metro, I would say.
Really?
Yeah, it's completely open-ended, player-driven economics. So everything is dependent on what players are doing and what they're charging for things. The interesting thing about this game, though, is that you are both building a shipping fleet and fishing to sell fish to other players, but also you're buying fish from other players to turn them into resources. So like in the game Container, you can produce or fish your own fish, but you can't buy them yourself. So the only thing you can do with those is try to sell them to other players. And if nobody wants to buy your fish, when it comes back to your turn again, they degrade. They're getting old, right? The fish are drying out. And if nobody wants to buy them again, then they just go back to the markets and you wasted your time. So you have to read the market and see when the price that you think you can get for these fish, but also know when the right time is to buy other people's fish that they fish to turn them into a resource. And the reason why you want resources in this game is because you have yen, which you can use as leverage to buy new licenses or do different things to build your fleet and your engine. But your resource score, the person with the most resources gets a big bonus at the end of the game, and the person with the least has to pay money to the bank. So you basically have this resource score, which is worth yen at the end of the game as well, and then you have yen that you're using as leverage, which is also worth your end game score. And these two things combined are going to make up who wins the game.
Okay, what kind of fish do we have in the game?
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Yeah, they're cool little meeples that are in the game as well, like these little tiny fish. So there's tuna and there's spider crabs, and both of those come out as a blind bid auction. You pull them out of a bag and there's different values that are on them, which makes the game really fun. You have to invest more to fish those because you need a bigger boat to pull in multiple discs of those at a time. Then we've got the fugu, which are pufferfish. Yeah. And those ones are really interesting. They're like an exponential of how many you have. So if you have 4 as a group together, then that would be 4 times 4. They're worth 16 as a group. And you can sell them back to get yen from them as well as a group. So they're kind of an interesting different element depending on how many you have in particular. There's salmon. Those are really cool because if you buy them fresh from another player, they're worth more than if you buy them when they're like degrading and getting old. And the value is based on the number that everybody owns in total. So it'll go up as other people start buying them, and then you're kind of weighing if it's worth you buying something because somebody else has a bunch of them, and that's going to increase all of theirs. So that's got a nice balance to it. There's eels, which they have like this cool sparkle paint finish on them as well, which is fun. And that market, when you fish them, the value goes up of what they're worth. But at any point, somebody can go into that market and sell all of theirs and just like kind of crash the market because it goes down by double when you sell. So that market's just fluctuating up and down for what those are worth, and then it's locked in at the end of the game on what it's at. So that's kind of fun.
So do you specialize when you build your fishing fleet? Because I never played this game, so I'm just envisioning in my head, like, do I specialize in one kind of fish? Do I have to buy a license to fish a certain kind of fish? Because you can't find fugu and tuna in the same body of water.
Exactly, yeah. So you have to go into that specific type of market and buy a license in order to fish that fish. So you can't just fish whatever you want. You have to invest in it first. And also, once you own a license there, you're sort of invested in that industry. And so when anybody else enters that market again, you get 100 yen just because somebody entered it, because you're invested in it, right? So that's how you get licenses to fish certain types of fish, is to go into those markets. And you can do other things in all the markets as well. They're all completely unique. So sometimes you can sell things there. Sometimes you can like convert resources into something else. It just depends on what you want to do with your strategy. And then there's some external markets as well. There's like a government one where you can donate to charity and get a little bit of a tax write-off for that.
Hey, you want some salmon?
Yeah,
here.
Exactly. Somebody needs to eat some salmon. Yeah. Yeah, so there's that. There's a bank where you can either take out loans or you can take out shares, and the interest from the loans gets paid to the shareholders, which is fun and changes this extra dynamic layer on top of everything else that's happening in the game. So there's a lot that you can do, but it's very simple because you can only take 3 different types of actions on your turn.
Okay, so what are they?
Yeah, so you can go fishing, which basically every ship in your fleet gets to do one thing. It's either going to undock, get another fish onto it, which you have to have a license for, or dock back up, in which case you'll put the fish for sale. So that's the first option. Second option is you can enter one of the central markets, and those either take actions or yen to enter. And then you can do lots of things within that one specific market. You can buy licenses, sometimes you can sell fish, sometimes you can do other things. So entering markets is the second option. And then the third option is you can buy fish from other players. And you can buy as many as you want from everybody, but you have to spend an action in order to buy for the turn. So you only have 2 actions on your turn, and you only have 3 options.
Okay, so I can sort of see how the game structure is and how turns will go. So now let's get into the strategies. Okay. So in the beginning, what should you do? Sounds like you kind of want to go into a fish early because you get 100 yen. You pave the way every time somebody else, and then this is like a way you're encouraging people to specialize in certain kind of fish. So what are some of the good investment, good actions to take in the beginning?
Sure. So there's a variable setup for what markets come out, but I'll just talk about some of the good ones that you could get in on early if they're out in play. So spider crabs, for example, you need a better ship to get them, so you want to maybe quickly buy a 2-slot ship and then get a spider crab license. And then once you do that, you can pull in auctions. And spider crabs are really cool because you can get 400 yen extra if you sell them back to the market instead of keeping them as resources. So everyone's going to be bidding pretty high for them. But if nobody else has cash or they're low on cash, and you just have a little bit more than them and you're the fisher, you can actually get in on that bid and you can undervalue what your actual crab is worth and pay that to the bank and get to keep the crab yourself. So it's a good way to get some extra money. It basically guarantees that you're going to get money every time you pull something in, but you have to build the engine to do that. So spider crabs are a good one to get in on. Eels are also very good because the value is going to go up the more that you fish. So if you want to just start fishing a bunch of eels, you can drive that price up and you can start charging more yourself. And players will invest in them, and then the market will crash again at some point when someone sells them, but they have to enter the market in order to sell them, so you're just going to get a bonus for that as well. So you basically want to think about what are other players wanting to do and how can I take advantage of where money is going to want to be spent in the beginning of the game. One of the things you shouldn't do early is spend too much money up front, because just like in Tokyo Metro, it's kind of hard to claw your way back up if you don't have a quick way to turn resources into yen again. Sometimes there are options for that, but yeah, you just want to keep that balance. There's also an external market called the aquarium where you can sell fish for a lot more than what they're worth, because the aquarium wants to gather some fish to put them on display, right? So if you can gather a good amount of resources and then spend the 2 actions of your turn to go in there and just sell everything, you can get a lot of investment and then build a bigger engine. The game basically revolves around seeing when the right time is to upgrade your engine as the game goes on, so that you can leapfrog into having a better efficiency and moving on to the next part of the game. I would say there's usually like 3 different engines steps that you can do, and depending on how well you do in each of those phases of the game will depend on how well you do in the overall.
Okay, so you mentioned 3 different phases of the step. We talk about seeing what's going on at the beginning, and then maybe going to some of the good resources if you have the money, but then don't overspend your money, right? There's like different ways to go. You can fish, or you can gather resource and sell to the aquarium. Now we're halfway through the game. I'm not winning. Somebody else is winning. Yeah. So what are some of the catch-up mechanisms that I'm sure you have built in the design? Yeah,
one of the most interesting things is you can crash markets by overfishing them. So yeah, suddenly somebody is just running away with spider crabs, right? Well, maybe you buy 1 license for that, or somebody's running away with eels. You buy a license for that. What you can do is just get all of the fishing barrels, because there's only a limited number in the game, and put them all on your ship. Suddenly, that market's crashed. There's no more fish in the ocean. So nobody can fish that anymore for the rest of the game. And you'll pull out a new market, which refreshes the game a little bit and opens up new options for your strategy. So if somebody is really taking advantage of a market, you can just make a small investment in it and then crash it. And that player suddenly doesn't have that value anymore from the engine that they've built. And then you have a new option to do something else. So that's a good way to cut out leaders if you're behind. Another thing you can do is start thinking about ways that you can just get income from yourself without helping another player. So with mackerel, which is like the bread and butter. It's the most eaten fish in Japan. So this one starts out, it's in every single game, and there's a lot of the resources for them. But it's interesting because if you bring in 2 discs at a time, you get a 100 yen bonus. And mackerel, you can actually sell back to the market itself. So you can sell your own barrels that way. You normally can't do that. But with that one, it's special. So you can just get a lot of ships or the barge to bring in a bunch of mackerel at once. You get a bonus for bringing in extra discs. Then you go to that market, you get extra money because you have licenses there, and then you can sell them and get a little bit extra money on top of that. So if you're falling behind, just like take your own solo strategy and find a way that you can make a little money without helping anybody to get back in and build a better engine again.
Okay, how much money you have? Is it hidden information or everybody knows?
That's actually up to the players when they start. So you discuss before you start playing and you choose, do we want to play with hidden money or do we want to play with open money? And it changes the dynamics of the game quite a bit. Yeah, so if you like calculating everything and you like looking and seeing and trying to make very precise decisions, then I would say play with open money. And if you want to keep a little bit of that perceptive value in there, not know how the auctions are going to go, then I would say play with closed.
That's interesting. So you can play this game as a super strategic, all about calculation, open information game, but you can also play as just like a fun, sort of like a modern art, like just bidding, all about bidding and all about like the surprise reveal at the end, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's great because it's very simple to jump into, and I think even people who casually play games can enjoy seeing how this system works and how like these levels of economy can work, and playing with closed money is an extra way to just make it fun and have a little bit more of this like unknown feeling to it. But if you like really, really strategic, long economic games, you can also get that feeling by playing with open.
I can see people totally aping in this game. I can see people just be like, I don't care, I just want those spider crabs.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's really interesting. I'm definitely going to have to check it out. I just can't wait to play with those fish crab meatballs. And thank you so much, Jordan, for telling me about Tsukiji, a game that I'm really interested in right now, Tsukiji Market. Telling me about the strategies, how to play, how to win, and thank you guys for watching. Bye!